welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well, enjoying your weekend. This is going to be the astro weather for the week of December 10th through the 17th. Thank you guys for joining me. So yeah, basically this week we got a lot of stuff going on. Some of the videos I've already put out on some of the particular aspects this week, so just a heads up. If you're looking for that new moon in Sagittarius video, or if you have any other questions about some of the other bigger transits, like the Mercury retrograde, there's lots of really great videos on the channel that I've put on these particular subjects. You can also check out your December horoscopes, which are live on the page. Now, just a few announcements for this month. It's not too late to join my New Year's Day 2024 astrology presentation. I'm going to be doing a private event that's going to be live, where I will be talking all about the biggest trends astrologically in 2024. We're going to talk about some of the global trends, the bigger transits, and how it's impacting all of us collectively and the 12 signs. You guys can catch me here New Year's Day at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern. And you guys can pick up tickets. Tickets are basically by donation on my website. Click the description below to head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletters. That way you are alerted as to when I have new availability for courses and other promotions that we're going to be doing. The holidays are coming around, so if you guys are looking to give the gift of a reading, whether that's a session with me or a natal chart reading, I do have gift cards on my website. We've also got tons of 2024 calendars, both digital as well as print. So if you're looking for something fancy to put on the wall, or you're looking to give something like that as a gift, consider checking that out. We also do digital personal transits for like a direct import into your digital calendar on your phone or your computer. That's going to be more specialized and tailored to your particular chart. So if you guys want to be prepared for 2024, we've got you covered. All right, so I'm titling this video, obviously you saw the sun in Sagittarius, trine the North Node in Aries, but I'm titling this video The Bigger Picture. Because in my mind, there's so many transits to kind of touch on this week. Usually when I do the astro weather, I'll kind of pick one in particular aspect or transit and really kind of like lecture on that. But this was probably the biggest one of the week. Yes, we've got an optimistic new moon in Sagittarius. That new moon in itself is going to be in a trine to the North Node, so that's going to be kind of baked into this particular video. We're going to have a Mercury retrograde that'll be taking place this week in the sign of Capricorn. Mercury will be retrograding back into Sagittarius, where we're reevaluating the bigger picture of all of our lives. You'll see several trines to Jupiter throughout this particular retrograde, so I encourage you guys to work with it. And as you guys know, with retrogrades, sometimes we experience some kind of slowdown. So we might notice there's, traffic delays and delays in traveling. Computers kind of bite the dust. Sometimes we have issues with our cars, or emails go missing. You guys get the gist of it. But because we're going to have Mercury going retrograde this week, if you guys can get your Mercury retrograde stuff in prior to the 13th, when the retrograde begins, that would be ideal. And even if you don't, you can catch a Mercury-Jupiter trine on both sides of the retrograde. So definitely check out my Mercury retrograde video. And then we're going to have a questionable Sun in Sagittarius square Neptune in Pisces kind of moment. So we're going to see some mutable squares this week. We're no stranger to that. The Mercury retrograde features several times a Mercury and Sag square Neptune. And we will also see Mars come into a square with Neptune. So that square seems to be something that the cosmos really want us to work on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But I think my favorite of all of the transits this week is that Sun in Sagittarius trine the North Node in Aries. We're going to discuss why it's so important, why it's so expansive, and it's really about taking action and seeing the bigger picture in regards to our life and where we're going between now and the spring of 2024. So let's go ahead and take a look at the week ahead. We're going to start with today, Sunday the 10th. Happy Sunday to everybody who's part of the Sunday crew. So you guys are waking up in the morning and the moon is in Scorpio. Okay, so Something off the bat that you guys are probably kind of still feeling actually. Since late last night, we saw that the moon in Scorpio was in opposition to Jupiter in Taurus. Obviously, when the moon's in Scorpio, it's a water sign ruled by Mars and Pluto, so it's rather intense. It can be about responding to changing, circumstances that can bring up fear. There can be a lot of intense exchanges with other people, especially now that we have Venus in the sign of Scorpio. So last night the moon was in conjunction to Venus in opposition to Jupiter. I would imagine there are some people who are waking up with a hangover this morning, from overdoing it, right? With the moon and Venus in conjunction, there was some big change or transformation that happened over this weekend, and the opposition to Jupiter is about overdoing it, right? Overeating, overspending, overindulging. So yesterday, today, watch those pocketbooks, be mindful of your spending and eating habits. Definitely when we overdo things, we feel the after effects in Scorpio, and it can be about having some emotional challenges or fear or some blockages that are coming up, and maybe what we thought was going to taste good, feel good, or fulfill our expectations didn't, because Venus is not totally thrilled being in this sign. Now, in the morning, we start to see the moon build into an opposition with Uranus. So it's like we're feeling, the burden financially, or we're starting to kind of feel a little squirrely about some changing financial or physical circumstances. And that moon in Scorpio is really picking up all the intensity from this, and it can be quite reactionary. What you want to watch for is when the moon is going to start hitting about 22, 23 degrees later in the day. It'll start trining Neptune, and that gives us an opportunity to become more aware of toxic emotional behavior, things that we need to purge and kind of get out of our system. And it's going to really be helpful to kind of dissolve that, because the moon and Neptune are going to hit 24 degrees. So if you're not feeling so hot emotionally or physically, hydrate. Maybe consider, starting a bit of a detox today, or maybe even doing a little bit of fasting, because this wants to eliminate negative emotions. And the way to do that is through water, right? Neptune is about water. It's about emotion. It's about sensitivity, meditation, swimming, soaking. Otherwise, we're going to fall into some of the darker sides of Neptune, which could be feeling hopeless, or relying on pharmaceuticals or prescription medication or recreational drugs or drinking, right? And that's going to be something that's really easy to fall into this week as we start to see squares to Neptune. Sagittarius represents faith. And so we've got a lot of planets going through Sagittarius right now, where we are focused on the bigger picture of our life. Now, you can fall into one of two groups this week. You can be some of the people who are working with the trines to the North Node, where you feel energized and you want to kind of pick yourself up by the bootstraps and go, I am going to start something new. You can work with the Mercury trine Jupiter, which is, I am going to be more focused on being optimistic. I'm going to learn a new habit. I'm going to learn a new hobby. I'm going to teach myself how to fix something. These are very can-do kind of fire and earth energies. That's like, I've got a goal in mind, I'm going to initiate it. Or you're going to start falling into the camp of people who are going to be feeling the squares to Neptune, who might start to feel like they're losing momentum, right? They're running out of steam, they're exhausted, they're tired, they're sick, they're not as optimistic, they're feeling like a victim. We're going to see that dynamic out in the world very much so this week, and really until the end of the month. So work with the trines the best that you can. Know that this moon in Scorpio is really trying to kind of get us to become aware of all of the shift that we need to kind of make happen, and the things that we need to let go of. That moon in opposition to Uranus can be emotionally destabilizing. It can feel as if we are in panic mode because we don't have enough of something, or we don't feel grounded, or we don't feel stable. We will see, like I said, the moon come into a trine with Neptune. That's going to be happening in the PM hours. Wonderful time for a little bit of pause and reflection. And I think between that trine to Neptune and the sextile to Pluto, we are winding things down. We are wrapping things up. We are closing things out. Very shortly after this, we're coming into the new moon in Sag. So it's not uncommon when the moon is coming into this new moon phase, when it's in the tail end of Scorpio and the beginning of Sagittarius, we feel kind of like squirrely, right? We feel kind of touchy, sensitive. We can be kind of grouchy because we're coming into this dark phase where we need to take time to be quiet and reflective and plant new seeds. So Sunday to me kind of feels as if we can learn not to respond by overindulging, if we can course correct some of those tendencies to be gluttonous or, go on a spending spree or do something that is just kind of smoothing over some of our emotional needs. If we become aware that we're doing that and we course correct it, we're gonna be feeling a whole lot better. Definitely would not recommend doing any holiday spending. I hope you weren't doing it last night. I hope you're not doing it today. Wait until we get out of these Venus oppositions to planets in Taurus. Now we're going to take this to December 11th, which is going to be Monday. And we wake up in the morning and the moon has ingressed into Sagittarius. So now the energy shifts a little bit. We're more focused on Jupiter. When planets are in Sagittarius, we are optimistic. We're looking for that silver lining. We're trying to learn something. We're willing to teach somebody something. So the energy is interesting because overall, I really feel like this is a positive new moon that we're going to be having. But the lunar transits leading up to the new moon is very fascinating to me. We wake up immediately with the moon square Saturn. So there is this feeling of emotional blockages, right? And these are immutable signs. So it can be this feeling that's like, I can't see the future yet. I don't know where I'm going. Things aren't set in stone. I'm not sure how it's going to pan out, but I'm gonna be an optimist. I do feel like this is not the best time to make major changes in regards to your home. It might be a difficult time emotionally relating to people. Both of these are immutable signs. So the square does represent changing circumstances in the Sagittarius area of your chart and the impact that it's actually having on Pisces. So you want to look at all the action going on with the new moon, with the sun, with Mars being in Sagittarius. And it's in a superior position, which means like all of this has a little bit more oomph. And it is really reinforcing us to do our Pisces stuff this week. So Saturn in Pisces represents those boundaries that we need to be more aware of, issues pertaining to invisible limits. It can be about sluggishness. It can be about where we're too isolated or too afraid or too unwilling, or maybe even self-sabotaging. And so Sagittarius is going to come in and kind of really push these planets in Pisces and say, you need to do these things. And I think the key here with Saturn and Neptune is moderation, right? Moderation is a huge theme with these placements. Saturn is where we need to kind of buckle down and we need to be more committed and we need to be hitting these timelines and making sure that we're doing our due diligence to do this work. And Neptune is also about, it's kind of the opposite of Saturn when you think about it. Neptune is like sometimes oversleeping, daydreaming, creating. It's about mystical, magical experiences or things that are kind of otherworldly. So I think of Neptune as being something that is not as grounded as Saturn. So we might feel like the pendulum swinging back and forth in Sagittarius season, especially this week where there are times where we're too rigid and there are times where we're kind of too loose, and we see kind of the challenge in trying to find the middle ground, and moderation is going to be the key. So watch for that. I think that moon square Saturn is where we might feel like we just don't have enough time. Now, the next aspect that the moon is going to make prior to coming into the new moon in Sag is the moon is going to come into a conjunction with Mars. And this is going to happen right around the early morning hours of December 12th. This is actually more or less the last aspect that the moon is making. The conjunction to Mars, which is about feeling emotionally kind of fired up and ready to go and ready to push forward in a way that's not about feeling pressured. I think it's about excitement. I think it's about adventure. I think it's about going and doing things or studying things or having experiences that we haven't had before. It's a very much like here goes nothing type of energy. this particular conjunction tells me that right before we have the new moon, there is some kind of action. Maybe there is a sense of something heating up. Maybe there is something that is pushing us to go a little bit further, to be a little bit more optimistic, to take chances. And then that moon is going to trine Chiron. So conjunct Mars. Mars rules Chiron in the North Node. It's the dispositor. So it's basically saying we have to be learning something new about the bigger picture of our life and where we're going on a personal level. That's what the trines to Aries are all about. So then we're going to come into the new moon. The new moon will be on the 12th. So now this is going to be Tuesday. And it'll be at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. You're going to see this in the PM hours, depending on where you are in the world. 20 degrees is a Scorpio degree. So it represents a new opportunity for Sagittarius to grow, learn, expand, to be able to change something about our belief, our philosophies, to focus on travel, education, to connect with mentors, to really be more positive and more optimistic, and I think more open-minded. That's something that really comes up a lot, I think, with Sagittarius. Now, it's about combining that 20 of change with the new moon energy of what's new. So we're not saying, well, I want to do something new. It's, I'm deciding to, change the way that I've been doing something in the past, or my goal is to transform something that's already existing. It can be about death and rebirth energy. It can be about significant shifts revolving around joint resources, finances. And Sagittarius is about also like law and legality. So I talked in my, my Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius video. I talked about this also in my Mars in Sag video, that we're going to see lots of people who are going to be taking action, who are going to be pursuing lawsuits and talking to lawyers or attorneys or protesting or being advocates for something. And that these are the types of people out in the world that we're going to see that's challenging some of these shadowy narratives revolving around, politicians or governments or hospitals or, like global patterns and trends. So you're going to see a lot of very loud opinions, right, throughout this transit. The new moon, I feel like, can be so wonderful if we know how to work with it. And on one hand, like I said, we've got trines to that North Node, which is about finding the way forward, forging that path ourselves, and doing it because we're brave enough to be able to turn over a new leaf. However, some people are going to get lost in the squares to Neptune, where they're going to go, what's the point? We're not going to win this fight, or I'm tired, I can't go on any longer, or we're never going to see eye to eye. We can see a lot of clash when it comes to culture, religion, philosophy within this particular square. So you have to choose if you want to play the hero in the story with the trine to the North Node, or if you want to identify as a victim. That's really what it comes down to right now. And I think that, during this particular new moon, it's very interesting because if we look at Jupiter, right? Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. Jupiter is retrograde at 6 degrees of Taurus. So, this inconjuncts or quincunx by sign. This is 6 signs away from Sagittarius. So if you were to listen, right, to my Sagittarius new moon horoscope, I would say, well, Sagittarius, this is happening, 6th house to your sun, this conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus that is building, right? That's going to be coming in the spring of next year. And the 6th house is where Mars does very well. It's about being able to overcome, obstacles, being able to kind of come out on top and be able to make it through what's been some difficult or trying times. 6th house to a particular sign can represent illness. It can represent enemies. It can represent turbulence at work. It can talk about issues with scheduling and problems with coworkers. But I think really what this comes down to is where the new moon and the connection to Jupiter retrograde is saying, if we want to have better systems, if we want to have better health, if we want to have better ways of being able to serve our community or serve ourselves, then we have to be willing to learn. We have to connect, right, with Jupiter. Jupiter is mentors, teachers, gurus. We have to hold space for those people who know what they're doing and let them do their job. And it doesn't matter if it's people who are involved in the legal system or if this is farmers, right? Jupiter and Taurus can be farmers. It can be people who are also economists. It can be people who work for financial institutions. And so I think there's going to be a lot of talk about what is going to be legal in the future. You'll see this throughout this particular next 28-day cycle. A new moon's going to take about 6 months to really fully transform. But when I looked at this new moon and I fast forward into the spring of 2024, and I look at when it becomes a full moon in Sagittarius, we're going to see a Jupiter and Venus conjunction at 29 degrees of Taurus. That is massive opportunity for wealth, massive opportunity for abundance, growth. And so I really feel like it pays to learn right now, to learn about global trends, to go and learn about where our time or our energy or our resources are best invested. Some people might use this new moon quite literally to say, I'm going back to school. But I think of 6th house to this new moon as trade. I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that you have to go and have a 4-year degree or, or more to be able to be successful out in the world. I think we're going to see so much growth from people who are willing to roll up their sleeves, get their hands dirty and say, you know what, I'm going into agriculture, or I'm going to be going into, working with food, or I'm going to be going into working a trade job or something that's going to give them freedom, right? Because this building Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is about financial freedom. So many people are going to, off of this new moon, say, I want to be more independent. I want to learn how to do something on my own. And whether it's being an entrepreneur or just growing your own vegetables in a garden sill, it does not matter. You will be able to have that if you utilize this during this new moon. Now, something else to think about is that new moons can get activated. If another planet hits that, if there's an eclipse there, if there's a square, down the road, you're going to see stuff that's going to bring up the themes of that moon. Well, on December 22nd, 2023, we are going to see Mars come into this conjunction. Okay, so Mars will hit 20 degrees of Sagittarius. And that's when I believe many of us are going to be saying, okay, now we're taking action here. Mars rules the North Node. So wherever Mars goes is really kind of doing the work of that North Node growth. So Mars in Sag is saying, I have to go on that trip, right? I have to take that class. I have to publish that book. I have to meet that person and learn from them. Maybe it's getting a self-help book. Maybe it's learning a new language. It's going to be different for everybody, but it's basically like the sky's the limit with Sagittarius. So you want to be thinking big. Now, why is this important? Well, at the second part of this month, on the 22nd, when Mars hits this particular degree, we're going to take action and initiate a change in some way. That'll still be in alignment, right, with that North Node in Aries. So there's a lot of destiny kind of working right now. There's a lot of things, even though there is some fogginess with Neptune squares, that's really saying if we can be aware of the bigger picture, if we can be checked into that, we will be in such a better place in the spring of 2024, and we're going to be a lot more capable, I think, of being able to do things ourselves. All right, so something else that's kind of interesting about the 12th is just Mercury stationing, and Mercury has absolutely nothing to do with Sagittarius, but I do think this is important because when we see planets stationing, it basically means either in the retrograde or when it's going direct, generally themes revolving around Mercury kind of come about out in the world. So while Mercury can be about technology and travel and exchanges and gadgets and stuff, it's in the sign of Capricorn. So this is all about government and public officials. This is about people who wear uniforms. This is about people in positions of authority because it's a Saturn-based sign. So it does mean that there's getting ready to be some kind of news coming out or more discussions revolving around political things. Throughout the retrograde, like I said, we're going to see several squares to Neptune while it's in Sag, which is confusing, but several trines to Jupiter, which is a little bit more positive and optimistic. So I, for one, am wondering what's happening in this next week. I assume there's like another Fed meeting that's coming out, just looking at the transits, or I would think there is, where there is going to be some discussion about oversight and control, or, you know, what forecast they're seeing for the future finances. Jupiter retrograde can indicate that they're trying to kind of cool down on inflation. You're going to hear them talking about that. You're also going to hear about probably future direction that they're going to be going with interest rates. So watch for that as well. But yeah, some kind of news is coming in, and likely we're going to see that there could be some glitches with technology. All right, so now we're going to take it to Wednesday the 13th. And this is going to be in the morning. There we go. So in the morning hours, we're going to see the moon coming out of that conjunction with the new moon, with the sun. The moon is squaring Neptune. So in the morning, probably feeling a little lost and confused, having some issues with weather, having some issues with directions, miscommunications, misunderstandings. That's very likely with this particular transit. So watch for that. And now we have Mercury retrograde. So you will see as of the 13th through the 1st of the new year, this retrograde is going to be in full effect. You want to look at the Capricorn area of your chart. Mercury going retrograde is likely having you reassess how can something be better functioning? How can you be reorganizing? How can you be committing more seriously to something? Capricorn is a sign that deals with Saturn, so it can be about responsibility, long-term goals, and our professional life. But it's going to be in a different house for everybody, so it really depends on where you've got that. Now, the Mercury retrograde, I think, is likely really going to be felt when the moon comes into conjunction. So we're going to see a lunar change where the moon is then going to go into Capricorn midday, and it's going to come into conjunction with Mercury, and that's going to be in the late evening hours of the 13th. Now, when that moon conjuncts Mercury, there is a sense of like reflecting on our feeling, reflecting on our moods, making some changes maybe around the home. Maybe this is about making changes with our family. It's interesting because, you know, the moon is not totally thrilled being in Capricorn. It's in its fall, so it's going through a sign where it has to do some kind of emotional labor. So that conjunction to Mercury represents kind of picking apart something about our home or reorganizing something emotionally, or how we're adjusting to some kind of emotional change, and reflecting with that retrograde on, you know, do we like how things feel? Do we like where we're at? What's changing in terms of our emotional feelings about our responsibility or our goals? The positive is that we are going to see this come into a trine, obviously, with Jupiter. So you'll see the moon trine Jupiter. So whatever change or reorganization we're experiencing on Wednesday night, it's meant to make us feel better grounded. There's more expansion, there's more stability, there's more resource opportunity. So this would be a good time to sit down and pause and reflect and be asking yourself, like, you know, am I checking in with my emotions? Because sometimes the Capricorn moon can kind of like deny that. All right, so then we're also going to see, let's see, what else is going to be going on? So this is going to take us into now the 14th. So this is going to be Thursday. And the moon's still in Capricorn. It's not doing too much. We're going to start seeing it come into a trine now with Uranus. So this is about being like, okay, we made the change. How do we feel? Now that we're adjusting to these new career or maybe responsibilities, or these new goals that we have, how it's shifting something about our energy, that's shifting something about our resources, our self-esteem, some kind of physical or financial shift can kind of come about from that particular trine. We're also going to see the moon start coming into a sextile with Neptune. So there's a lot of like focusing on our goals and rearranging or reworking something about the Capricorn area of our life, and how we can kind of do that through tapping into our visions, or tapping into our dreams, what we're manifesting, right? Because Pisces can be very visual. I think of Pisces as like, you know, vision boards and collages. And that's why I really have really enjoyed, I think, the sextiles between Capricorn and Pisces, because we really do see this harmonizing of, okay, we have a goal, you know, what do we have to pray for? What do we have to manifest? What are we visualizing? But also, what are we letting go, right? Like in order to receive this new thing or this goal, what do we need to dissolve? And then Pisces also kind of being like the collage or the vision board to kind of give Taurus the blueprints to build something. So there's goals, you know, are we manifesting it? Are we letting it go? And then how are we building something new? How are we re-envisioning it? So look for opportunities still, even on the 14th, to be doing some of this work. You know, when the moon is in Capricorn, likely we're doing, like I said, some kind of emotional labor, but we also might find that we are having meetings, or we're talking to bosses, or we're, you know, focusing on timelines, or we're kind of like buttoning something up. And I think with the moon and Mercury in conjunction, a lot of people are going to be reflecting on just how much of an impact their emotions are having on them mentally, or whether or not they're feeling totally thrilled with their job or with their responsibilities. So it gives us an opportunity, the 13th and the 14th, to kind of reevaluate that. We're going to start to see on Thursday also the sun will start coming into the square with Neptune. So you're going to start feeling that square. But before that, we're going to have the trine to the North Node. Okay, so that'll be at 22 degrees. Now, that sun trine the North Node, I want to read to you guys the Sabian symbol for that. So it's 22 degrees and change, so we're going to read 23. If you guys don't already have a copy of the Sabian Symbols Screen of Prophecy book, I recommend it. I have a book list of all the books and the decks that I use on my channel. It's in the link in the description below. This is page 54, Aries 23. A woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy load, carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load. The theme is behind the scenes. The symbol speaks to privacy and to the unreliability of superficial appearances. The image of a woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy but valuable but veiled load presents the contrast between the light and gentle appearance of the woman and the heavy but disguised burden she carries. The implication here is that the load she carries is an important obligation, and despite the weight of it all, she is committed and not willing to give up or share it. On a practical level, the symbol cautions against judging by appearances. It also implies that the truth of the matter may be hidden, or in some important secret is being kept. At its highest, the symbol represents integrity, discreetness, and a willingness to accept responsibility without complaint. Watch for hidden agendas or deception. The accent is on mystery of things that are hidden or not that are not what they appear to be. Your greatest advantage lies in keeping quiet and not revealing too much at this time, but demand full disclosure in your dealing with others. Guard against underestimating the value of importance of what hasn't been said. Buying a pig in a poke or saying yes before you get all the facts could prove costly. Stepping stones are shyness, privacy, reluctance, secrets, concealment, camouflage, discreetness, confidentiality, hidden strength, responsibility, or burden. For me, you know, when I think of this particular degree, I think about like hidden potential. Like that's really what kind of comes up for me. And I also see that 22 degrees as being something that's challenging because this is a Capricorn degree. So it represents like having to do the work, carrying, you know, some kind of burden. It may not seem like it's a difficult task, you know, right in front of you, but it is something that can be, challenging for somebody to continue. But within that, it's the hidden potential, hidden talents, potentials, resources that the individual is carrying. There may be more valuable qualities or abilities that are not immediately apparent to others. So much of this trine, I think, talks about the ability to tap in and learn something or share something. It can be about, writing something that can be released and can help other people. It can be about teaching something to someone. I think it can be about teaching your skills or your talents to other people, and that is a means of also being more self-sufficient. Because it's veiled, obviously, it represents subtle strength. So I think of like the pastel colors as a woman's ability to carry a heavy load. It might symbolize the strength in a more underestimated or understated, gentle manner. And it suggests that power doesn't always have to be overt or forceful, that it can be something that just is. It doesn't have to be over the top, although we might see some over the top energy because, well, we've got some fire trines taking place. It does represent protection of valuables. So the veil over the load might indicate a need to protect or keep certain aspects of oneself private. It could be a sense of discretion or a need to guard against external influences. And it does represent a balancing act because the heavy load suggests a sense of responsibility or duty. And the woman in pastel colors might symbolize the need for balance or grace in handling challenging or substantial responsibilities. So you really want to think of the action, the intentions, the movement that's going on in Sagittarius and how it is positively influencing that North Node with the trine. But at the same time, it does say, well, that comes with a sense of responsibility. It's going to be a lot more maybe than what meets the eye. It might be a lot more work than you anticipated. It might be more than what you signed up for. Now, fire trines equal action for me. Creativity, passion, desire, adventure. You know, Sagittarius is a sister sign of Aries. It's the 9th sign of the zodiac ruled by Jupiter. And Aries is the 1st sign of the zodiac ruled by Mars. So we've got this really strong Sagittarius Jupiterian signature where we are taking action, learning, moving, traveling, exploring, trying to understand something. And then the trines to the North Node is for our own potential personal growth. So I look at this as like, well, you know, some people are going to be saying, I want to be a coach or I need a coach. Other people are going to say, I want a trainer because Aries can be about fitness. People are going to be saying, well, I need somebody who can, you know, help me. I need a self-help mentor, or I'm looking for somebody who can kind of guide me when it comes to my spirituality or my belief. You know, the 9th house is the house of the higher mind. This is very much connected with, you know, people who can be kind of guiding you in higher levels of thinking. Now, when I think of the sun in Sagittarius, I think of this as being about enthusiasm and exploration, wisdom. And I think that this is just being enhanced primarily because, you know, the North Node ruler is there, Mars, so we're already taking some of this action. But the trine to the North Node in Aries is about being assertive and independent and courageous. It's about having a pioneering spirit. So when you see these two coming together in combination, it's about being more optimistic about our life path. So this, you know, Sagittarius energy is really kind of helping us kind of get the show on the road with the North Node in Aries. It's helping us stay, you know, positive in regards to our journey there. It's about being courageous in our expression because it's involving learning and expressing ourselves in an independent or assertive manner. And I think it's also adding a layer of optimism as well that is definitely needed right now. It's going to give everybody the opportunity to practice much more of a pioneering spirit because I think that that's really what we see when we see Aries. But Sagittarius is about new territory. It's going into places that are unfamiliar. It's learning new languages or picking up new areas of study or making friends with people that you don't know or moving to a new city. These are all going to be areas that are going to be brand new. That's aligning with our life path and our ability to really, I think, focus more on some of our own personal development. Okay. So the 14th is a really big day. That sun trine the North Node is very similar to when we had the sun trine the North Node in Leo season. But there's so much going on in Leo season. And I feel like we were getting hit with some of the squares, obviously, that were taking place to Uranus. And we were still kind of in the drama of like the Venus retrograde. So this time around, it's a little different. I think also, you know, in the back of my mind, thinking about the North Node ruler being also a part of this, as, you know, we're going to have the 22nd of December, you know, Mars hitting this degree and the trines to the North Node. We're getting something going this month that's going to be so incredibly important come the spring of next year. And when I think of the North Node in Aries, I think about physical fitness. I think about the military. I think about entrepreneurs. I think about also self-healing, self-awareness, self-help. Such big themes as we see Chiron and the North Node get closer and closer. So if you've been looking for a coach, right, a business coach, a marketing coach, somebody to help you with branding, if you've been looking for a teacher, if you've been looking for an attorney, if you're looking for somebody to teach you something specifically, like you want to take a course or a lecture, or you're applying to college, or any kind of, you know, programs where you're going to be learning something, it's a really good time to be doing it around this time. Because I feel like while the squares kind of represent feeling lost in translation or not understanding, or maybe sometimes being a little unsure, the trines to the North Node are basically going to be people who are going to come into our lives that are going to help build us up and feel more self-sufficient and independent. All right, so then we're going to take the moon into the 15th, which is going to be Friday. And we're waking up in the morning and that moon is coming into a conjunction with Pluto and a sextile with Neptune. Kind of intense Friday morning. I mean, Moon-Pluto conjunctions, obviously, rightfully so. There is something profound changing on an emotional level. We're dealing with, transforming, releasing, grieving. And in Capricorn, especially now that Pluto's coming into the later degrees again, it's long-standing issues that we've had with power and control and limitation. So there can be some sense of some real emotional, intense emotional things going on, or intense emotional exchanges. We are not really getting a lot of support. I mean, the moon's going to square the North and the South Node in the evening hours, just building up to this, and then it's going to come into conjunction with Pluto. In the background, guys, Sun square Neptune, we're seeing Mercury retrograde coming into conjunction with Mars. We are likely going to, in the weeks ahead, hear more about some new conflict in the world, more conversations revolving around war and stuff like that. I'm not thrilled about it, but that's what's going to happen because of these Mars-Neptune squares and the Mars conjunctions. So I'm wondering if there is a sense of people starting to kind of dip into that fear, unfortunately, and feeling like, okay, something is coming, or there is something that's brewing. I would say take note. We should be taking note of the Capricorn area of our chart anyway. It's such a hot topic. Mercury is going retrograde there, so it wants us to reassess something. The moon's going to come into conjunct with Pluto, and Pluto's getting ready to leave this sign, and then Mars is entering. So Capricorn area is so important right now. Even though it's Sag season, the Capricorn area is going to be something that we're going to be working on for the better part of the next month and a half. So something's getting reworked or reorganized or brought back up from the past right before Pluto actually leaves, and then it moves into the next sign. So we're doing some big work in the Capricorn area of our chart. The only other thing you're going to see today is we are going to experience the moon ingress. It'll go into Aquarius. This will be right around midday. And you're going to start feeling the square between the Sun and Neptune. So that won't happen until the 16th, but you're going to start feeling that. Mercury continues to retrograde. Not much else is going on Friday. That moon keeps moving through Aquarius. And in the PM hours, you're going to see the moon square Jupiter. So that can be about some big feelings, big emotions, groups of people responding to some kind of financial shift or change. Jupiter is now entered into 5 degrees. So this is the degree which it will goes direct at the end of December in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks now, guys, of Jupiter hitting this 5 degrees of Taurus, the same degree that we had with this most recent eclipse in Taurus in, I believe it was October, the end of October, around the 28th. If you guys remember, we had a lunar eclipse there. And I said to you that until Jupiter leaves this degree, we're going to keep seeing the eclipse unfolding. So look at Taurus in your chart. You had an eclipse there. Jupiter's going to be at 5 degrees for 2 weeks. So if you have a personal planet at 5 degrees of Taurus, 4, 5, 6 degrees, pay attention because you have an extra extended period of sweetness. It's looking pretty good there. And then this is going to take us into Saturday, the 16th. And we wake up in the morning and the moon is still in Aquarius, and we're going to see a little bit of like a T-square pinch. So while the moon's in Aquarius, we focus on friends, groups, networks, community, very strongly tied to Uranus. And the moon's going to create a square to Venus in Scorpio and also a square to Uranus in Taurus. So on the 16th, there is a sense of something about groups or innovation or the future, and maybe even like politics and the impact that it's having on the financial systems, the financial markets. Intuitively, I kind of feel like this might be a big crypto day, so you might want to be watching what's going on with cryptocurrency. And it's been interesting. I mean, the last week or two, hearing a couple big people who are involved in politics, and also some of the big banks that are talking kind of negatively about cryptocurrency, but Bitcoin's been on a roll. So, gold has been too. A lot of things have been, but there's some conflicting stuff that I've seen with a couple of people that I follow, being a little bit, people I think are really optimistic, thinking that they are going to start coming down on interest rates next year. And that is obviously having some impact on, the rally that we're seeing with gold and possibly even Bitcoin as well. So I'm curious to see how this moon square Venus, which is in her fall, so she's not happy, and the moon square Uranus, which is in the sign of the moon's exaltation, that there are some things going on politically, or some groups of people who are definitely bringing something up to our awareness. It's putting the pressure on some potential growth with crypto. I think it might be a bit of a positive, alignment. Nevertheless, moon when it squares Uranus, we don't always feel emotionally secure. There's some sense of feeling destabilized. This is a sign that deals with friends. Aquarius is about coming together with groups of people and innovations in the future. And Uranus is not happy in Taurus, and it's retrograde. So I think we're going to hear like a lot of chit chat on, the interwebs about, the future of money and what people need and what the collective needs, and the fact that it's moving away maybe from like a debt-based system and moving into a system that's going to be more about power for the people. Watch for some of the financial challenges and the conflicts that can come up with people that particular evening. The sun finally comes into a square with Neptune, which is a little deceptive, especially at 24. Okay, things that are hidden, secretive, and mysterious. And when that square happens, it gets me thinking, like, we're going to have this particular square come up several times. Mercury already squared Neptune here. The sun's now going to square Neptune here. We're getting ready to see the Mars square Neptune here. And Mercury will hit that a couple times in its retrograde. So, for me, I kept asking myself, what are we hiding from, right? Neptune and Pisces, or what is being hidden from us? What are we avoiding? What is draining? What is deceitful? What is not clear? So, squares bring about some sense of pressure, but when you see the sun, which in Sagittarius is about the bigger picture, positivity, expansiveness, in the square to Neptune, there definitely is some conflicting energies that kind of come up with that square. For me, I think it's idealism versus reality. And I'm not entirely too confident that Sagittarius or Pisces deal very well with reality, because they happen to be signs that are both ruled by Jupiter. So it can be about what is possible and philosophy and, talking about things in like a very kind of high-minded, spiritual, esoteric, way. And we're lacking the element of earth here. What's positive is that Mercury is retrograding back. It's starting to come back into a trine with Jupiter. So, we can communicate better by being practical and going back through the details and, really being focused on getting everything structured in a way where slow and steady wins the race. But this Sun square Neptune makes me feel like that energy of, Sagittarius's idealism and quest for truth is not playing well with Pisces energy that's all about dreams, intuition, and spirituality. This brings tension between an idealistic vision of the Sun in Sag and this elusive, sometimes nebulous quality associated with Neptune. So there can be this desire for truth, but there can be lots of issues with illusion. Now, we also see issues with identity, okay, especially culturally, and with religion and, our belief system and philosophy. That's a huge issue that we see with this, because the sun represents our core identity and our ego. And when it squares Neptune, there's challenges in maintaining a sense of clear self. So individuals who have this aspect natally sometimes grapple with illusions, confusion, a tendency to lose themselves in dreams and fantasies. As we deal with this in transit, I think it's going to be about striking a balance between strong, authentic identity and the allure of melting everything together and just bringing everything together and just mixing everything into one. So you're going to hear more about this move to talk about, culture and ideal values when it comes to your, your place of origin, where you live, what your belief system is. Are you as a person, basically connected to where you were born, or your ethnicity, or your religion, or are you a part of a bigger melting pot, right? That could be Neptune. I think we're going to hear a lot more about immigration. I think we're going to hear a lot more about some of the theories, right? Mercury's retrograding back into Sag, about why we're seeing such issues with mass immigration, and that we're seeing in many countries like a dissolving of culture or faith or religion big time. Like a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now, I think people are asleep with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. They're not connecting the dots and seeing the bigger picture. They're not seeing that if we flood certain countries with all different types of ethnic groups and people from other places, we start to lose our core identity of, who we are, and our culture and our arts and our beliefs and our faith. And not that we can't have immigration, but when it's happening in a way where like the floodgates are opening and we've got borders that are open, and obviously we're going to see a lot of issues with crime. When Mars starts coming into a square with Neptune, we're going to hear more about the darker side of bringing in large numbers of military-age men into, countries, and where we are more predisposed to having issues with crime, having more issues with attacks on women. It's definitely going to be a theme. We're going to hear about this, and we're going to start to kind of question, like, why are we seeing this in certain parts of the world? What is the agenda here to be able to kind of dissolve any sense of personal identity based off of your culture or where you were from? Now, there is this sense of spiritual quest. I definitely think we're seeing this too with Mars being in Sagittarius, and I think the positive is that it can indicate a strong spiritual inclination and a quest for higher understanding. A lot of this is because Sagittarius seeks meaning and purpose, and Neptune's influence is here to enhance our spiritual experiences and our quests. But I think the challenge lies in discerning genuine spiritual insights from delusions or wishful thinking. So the next couple of weeks, it's a little dicey. I'm liking Mercury trine Jupiter because I feel like there can be practical, people we can talk to who can give us advice, that can give us insight. So if you're talking to somebody about finances, or if you're talking to somebody about applying for jobs, or if you meet a teacher or a mentor, that's wonderful. But as we're getting into the second half of December, and these planets are squaring Neptune, oh my God, there's going to be so many people drinking the Kool-Aid. May not be the best time to get readings, right? Because you might be, like connecting with somebody who's telling you what you want to hear, or there can be some sense of people openly, deceiving other people and not necessarily following that higher moral ground that Sagittarius really wants all of us to walk. And there can be more tendency to be kind of like delusional or just have, too much wishful thinking. Now, I think when I think of Neptune squares, also something that comes up for me a lot is sensitivity and vulnerability. Pisces is like a sponge. It absorbs everything, and it could absorb everything to the point where it's too much. It loses its boundaries, or it loses its connection to itself, or there is a sense of it getting sick, or, retreating, or, self-undoing. And so because there is a sense of sensitivity and vulnerability, the Sun square Neptune is going to enhance these qualities, especially because it's a square that is going to be a superior square. So we're more likely to be picking up on the psychic stuff in our environment. We're more susceptible to confusion, to deception. It's going to be harder to be able to differentiate, what's mine and what's yours, and establish healthy boundaries. So developing discernment, right, especially during this Mercury retrograde, is so damn important. We're going to realize with Mercury trine Jupiter that we want people who are calm and collected and reliable and take their time in relaying the information to you. When Mercury gets back into Sagittarius and it starts squaring off with Neptune and it conjuncts Mars, you're going to see people who are going to be like running through the town with pitchforks and being like, let's go and get them. And they're going to be trying to convince other people to get in on the madness and try to convince them that their way of thinking is the right way. And so people will start responding in a way that's barbaric. I mean, Mercury Mars is obviously angry words, but in Sagittarius, it's saying this is what I think, and I think I'm right, and so therefore I'm going to act. And this square to Neptune is attacking people who may be innocent people, who might be victims. So what we want to be looking for is people who are not chanting these war cries. We want to be talking to people who are educating and talking about why these wars are popping up, the financial incentive behind it, why there are certain campaigns that are kind of popping up right now to be, basically trying to get people to attack certain journalists, certain politicians, certain teachers and doctors and lawyers and mentors and people who are trying to bring the truth. Maybe it's just me, but I have just kind of noticed in recent years that throughout, especially the pandemic, those who were being canceled or those who were being censored or those who kind of vanished or were being deplatformed, we look down the road were people who were trying to warn us all along. And so now when I hear that somebody's being kind of censored or being cut off or removed, at the very least, I want to hear what they have to say because I want to know why they are being shut down. What is there to fear? If what they're saying isn't true, then why is it we're trying to censor them? And so I think we're going to see this kind of topic come back up. Retrogrades can bring people back into the spotlight. And I think we're going to be hearing from a lot of people that have some worthwhile information to share. And I think there's going to be other people who are just frankly like batshit crazy. So the Mercury retrograde square Neptune can very much be that. It's got this like very kind of culty vibe to it. So be careful with whose content you consume, right? Definitely check your sources. Get a good variety of people that you're hearing from. Try not to get stuck in an echo chamber of just hearing the same thing and searching for the same thing. Diversify in where you're getting your news from and try to have a well-rounded global perspective and get outside of where you live. Try to think about things in a global manner. I like this square for creativity and inspiration. I guess we'll leave it on a high note. The positive is that because Neptune is about creativity and inspiration, the square aspect can bring some kind of creative tension. So this aspect can indicate artistic talents and the capacity for imagination, but it does talk about the need to ground these creative impulses in reality, right? And avoid some kind of escapism tendencies. So watch for that. It's been my experience with like the Sun square Neptune. I do think this is squaring Neptune and kind of kicking his butt, being like, hey, you need to get the show on the road or wake up or be realistic about, what you're dreaming about. And like, nobody's going to make it happen but you. But this can also be a lower energy day, especially at 24. Things go missing. We forget things. We oversleep. We overdrink. We self-sabotage. There's so much room for illusion. Just be mindful that it's going to definitely be in the air on Saturday. Also, flooding. We already started seeing it. We saw this in Washington. I heard about some of the floods that were going on there, but extreme weather happens when we see squares between mutable signs. And so I do think that this is marking that period of the year where we're going to start hearing more about that. All right, so let's take it to Sunday. And this is going to be the 17th. And the moon's going to keep moving. We'll see it before it does. It's going to square Uranus. So watch for that. And then we'll take it to Sunday the 17th. And in the morning we wake up and the moon is still in Aquarius. The moon's now sextiling the sun. So this is the first nice aspect really since the new moon in Sag. Now it's kind of opening up and making some changes since we set our intentions with that new moon. We've got the moon that's going to be sextiling the north node and trining the south node. So it is working with groups of people towards our collective personal destiny. We're focusing on our goals. We're taking action and clearing out, relationship past. And when we wake up in the morning, we're going to start to see a couple things happen here. One is the moon will make its ingress into Pisces kind of midday. And so when the moon goes into Pisces, it'll conjunct Saturn. So this is very pause and reflect. And we're also going to start to see Mercury come into a trine with Jupiter. Now, I believe that's going to perfect, is it going to be today? It'll either be Sunday night or Monday morning. Let's see, I can't remember. Yeah, it's going to be Monday morning. But you're starting to pick up on the second Mercury trine Jupiter. So if you're looking for another good day, even in the midst of the retrograde, to revise something, sign a contract, reach back out to somebody, definitely use Monday the 18th. I'll talk about that next week, but there's been a couple opportunities that we have seen with that already. Let's take it back to the 17th. So the only real aspect you're going to see is that the moon's going to ingress. It'll conjunct Saturn. So to me, this feels very, especially in the evening, like pausing, reflecting, doing our due diligence to meditate, to clear space, to have a routine maybe before going to bed. And the moon will make a sextile to Mercury and also a sextile to Jupiter. So I really like Sunday night really for kind of like pause, reflect, preparing for the next week. It can be wonderful for making commitments to our dreams, to our goals, and the sextile that we have to Earth different placements is definitely going to help us reflect on what we're hoping to build and focus on our goals. Still feeling the effects of the Sun square Neptune, so that might wear on for a little bit, but I do think that the Sunday night vibes are kind of pausing and reflecting, staying in, watching movies, painting, drawing, taking time to meditate and kind of take time to ourselves, okay? That's pretty much the week at a glance. I did want to take you guys through the Sun trine, the North Node for all of the 12 signs, just to show you where this is playing out for you guys. So let me pull that up. Just to give you a little bit of insight into where these energies are working. As always, I am a Western astrologer, so I use Western astrology and the whole sign method for my presentations here. If you use Placidus, that's totally fine. You're just going to want to look for 22 degrees of Sagittarius and Aries. See which houses that's going to be landing in for you. And this is, definitely going to be looking at Sag and Aries because they're working together, okay? So we're going to see that trine happen for about a day. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to show you guys where it's playing out for everyone, starting with Aries and Aries rising. All right, Aries. So you're going to have the Sun trine the North Node. And, this is really significant for everybody. But you, Sagittarius and Leo are the ones that I'm really looking at. The fire signs are really going to be making things happen with this particular trine. The Sun in the 9th house is lighting up themes revolving around travel, education, faith, and philosophy. The trine to the North Node is about your own personal growth. And right now, Mars is at the top part of the chart. So it does seem like whether you're traveling on your own, starting a new project, publishing a book, learning something, whatever actions you're taking to expand your mind, your faith, and your philosophy is helping you become more independent, more self-sufficient, and also heal yourself. That seems to be the big focus with this trine. Try to have fun with it. I mean, I think with the Sun's connection there, it's about maybe, going after a passion, learning more about how to perfect a hobby, taking a chance, going on a trip, some romantic kind of getaway, or something that involves working with a younger person or a mentor is really opening up and expanding something about your destiny. All right, so we've got Aries and Aries rising, Taurus and Taurus rising, Taurus rising. You're going to have the Sun in Sagittarius making a trine to the North Node in Aries in your 12th house. So this is interesting because this is happening in water houses, okay? This trine from the 8th to the 12th house makes me feel like it's about transformation and wrapping up cycles. Obviously a retrograde, taking place in your 8th house eventually is got you thinking about change and transformation. It can be changes with, spending habits, with a partner, something regarding somebody else's assets, and the trines to the North Node seem to represent an end of that cycle. It can also be talking about like money that comes in for you that comes from like endings. So I think of like wrapping up settlements, tax matters, spousal support, inheritance, that stuff can be coming up as well. And generally when you see fire trines, there's action, but I think in your 12th and your 8th house, it's just about how you are responding to change and the fact that you're feeling maybe like you need a little bit more private time to kind of go through the motion of some of these changes. The sun is the ruler of the fourth house, and so it can be about big changes revolving around your home base. So maybe there's a big change at home, maybe you're moving, maybe there's a shift around a male family member, and that somehow impacts something about your physical space and also the way that you look at change. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini, Gemini rising. You're going to be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius coming into a trine with the North Node in Aries in your 11th house. So to see your 7th house of relationships get lit up, right, with the sun there, a retrograde there, is definitely bringing your attention to relationships with other people. It can be your spouse, it could be your collaborators, it can be professional partnerships, it could be clients. But the trine to the North Node is basically saying something about taking action in relationship is helping you align with your goals or your community or your networks. So maybe the right people are coming in and kind of helping you build a group or a club. Maybe a partnership or a relationship somehow is helping influence your goals and helping you, like connect with other people, socialize. There can be a sense of coming together with relationships as well as friendships, or friends can be influencing the kind of people you're having in your life romantically or giving you kind of advice about each other. Okay, so it really depends. But a lot of this is social. So there's a lot of socializing kind of coming up, and something about, the actions that are being taken, or maybe the people that you're meeting is helping influence making some of your dreams or some of your goals come to fruition. Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You are going to be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius coming into a trine with the North Node in Aries in your 10th house. Wow. For me, Cancer, I feel like the key words here are all about health and productivity. And whether this is like, getting control of health and habits, focusing more on physical fitness, diet, and health and wellness. If this is just about, creating a to-do list and getting things done. Something about the sun in the 6th house and the productivity really lends a lot of energy to your future success professionally, especially in the spring of 2024. So the 6th house is a house where we have to do things we don't want to do. We have to clean up, we have to fold our clothes, put it away. There is a sense of like needing to work a little bit harder to kind of get all of our to-do lists done. But Mars does very well in this house. And so I think with Mars and the sun here, the more that you're getting your health or your productivity in order, the more likely you're going to be able to be self-sufficient and independent, and like also having a lot more success in your career next year. Looking for jobs, finding jobs, initiating jobs, or new health routines or habits are very favorable for you at this time. Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You're going to be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius, forming a trine to the North Node in Aries in your 9th house. This is equally important for you, my Leos, because obviously the sun rules your chart. So whatever is going on with the sun is really important. I love this for you. I love the sun being in the 5th house. I think it's really wonderful for creativity, self-expression, romance, and travel. We're seeing the action in self-expression or creativity, self-employment, children, dating, really flowing very nicely with the North Node in Aries, where this is all about where we're going, what we're learning, who we're teaching, what we're facilitating. And if you happen to be having any placements around that 20, 21, 22, 23 degrees of Leo, you'll be experiencing a grand fire trine. So Leo will be the only sign, or Leo placements will be the only signs experiencing that. For me, this is like a lot of like taking chances and taking risks. And if that means going to places you haven't gone before, or if that means having some kind of foreign love affair or some kind of opportunity to learn more about something that you're really passionate about, it's definitely going to pay off for you. And I really feel like it's about having more adventure in your life next year. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You will be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius in your 4th house, coming into a trine with the North Node in Aries in your 8th house. All right, Virgo, so you've got the sun going through your 4th house, and Mars is there as well. You know, you'll be experiencing a Mercury retrograde. Kind of the storyline for a lot of Virgo risings is something maybe changing or being up in the air in regards to a home or family situation. It can mean that you're in the process of moving and you're getting settled. It can mean that you're thinking about some kind of future move or relocation. And I think the trine to the North Node is about how you're looking at and embracing change, where a change on the home front can actually open the door to positive transformation, you know, more money, access to other people's resources, some kind of support. But obviously it's going to come with a change. So I've heard a lot of things for Virgo risings. I've heard people who are like being evicted and they're suing and they're getting money to be able to be relocated. I'm hearing storylines of people who are separating and selling houses and having, you know, more liquidity basically to like go and get into a new space. I've heard about inheritances, renovations. It really depends. But there's definitely something that is setting up where you're kind of really reflecting on hidden things or things that you didn't know, either about your home or your living situation or your family, that's becoming more, like you're becoming more aware of it. And where there is like a need to handle or change something emotionally around the home front, and how that change, even though it might feel scary, can actually be really positive. So it's about how you're embracing the unknown. It's about how these home shifts are actually helping you lean into the North Node, where you're like, okay, I have support from family. They're letting me rent out their house or stay with them, or now I'm moving in with a partner, and so my cost of living is less because we're sharing expenses. And there can also be lots of conversations about insurance and homeowners insurance and life insurance and family matters and taking care of parents as well. So it depends, but just know that whatever action is going on the home front is helping you access the ability to go through a big transformation, but also how to learn how to receive from other people, okay? Good luck, Virgo. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You will be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius in your 3rd house, trining the North Node in Aries in your 7th house. All right, so for you, the sun is moving through the 3rd house, which deals all with movement, communication, learning, vehicles, or siblings. Now, the sun deals with goals and it deals with friends. And with the sun and Mars in the 3rd house, you might have goals to go on a road trip, to hang out with a sibling. You might be in the process of moving or thinking about movement. And this is falling into a trine with the 7th house. So it's opening up the door to relationships, partnerships, harmony. Those of you guys who are single, you might meet people literally traveling, getting out of town, or just maybe being in transit. Maybe you meet somebody locally because Mars is involved and Mars rules your relationships. The trines to the North Node is about opening the door to relating to other people. Whether that's walking up and introducing yourself to someone, or maybe this is about, you know, getting on like a social media platform and engaging with others, taking action maybe to work with and collaborate with other people online, have conversations, things like that. It really wants you to communicate with others. Also, movement or travel or major changes on the home base does put you in a position of having to communicate with other people. So there is a sense of being like, okay, things are changing, we're traveling or we're relocating. I need to pick up the phone and call my family, or I need to sit down and talk to my partner about what the game plan is when it comes to making some kind of move. So it does put you in a position of having to talk to and take other people into consideration, but doing so is definitely giving you the opportunity, I think, to really practice your communication skills and also take action when it comes to your online presence. And so whether you're traveling or, you know, you're working more on just connecting with another person, ask questions, stay in contact, do your best to ask for help when you need it. And I think it's really opening the door to stronger relationship communication and also just better relationships overall. Even if you're single, right? It's learning how to communicate and tell people what you need. And those of you guys who are partnered, it's being able to communicate and finding ways to be able to work together, especially when this can be a time when you're feeling like you're kind of under some kind of crunch when it comes to your schedule. So for a lot of you Libras, it's learning to be like, I don't have enough time. Can you work with me? Or, hey, I need some help. Can you help me out? All right, good luck, Libra. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you are going to be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius in your second house, trining the North Node in your sixth house in Aries. For you, Scorpio, you're seeing some kind of action in your financial part of your chart. Okay, so the second house is your finances, what you possess, your spending power. This is also your self-esteem. And the sun and Mars is in the second house, which means you're making moves when it comes to money and finances. You might feel like you're spending a lot of money, but what are you spending money on? Well, this is forming a trine to the North Node in your sixth house. So when I think about Mars, your chart ruler, and the sun being in close proximity, to me, it's like you're spending a lot of money on things that are going to end up, kind of paying off in the long run. It might be about money that's coming in from your business. It might mean that you're taking some of the money that you've been making and you're finally spending it at the end of the year, or investing it. And I think what you're investing it in is the North Node in your sixth, which is you're investing in your health. You're investing in organization. You're investing in wellness. Maybe you're physically having to move your office. Maybe you're physically having to buy new pieces of equipment for a home gym, or maybe you're spending a little bit more money on routines, gym memberships, supplements, right? Something like that. And so I like this because I feel like it's encouraging ultimately as we get into spring of 2024, maybe having healthier habits. And so whether you're investing more in your health or you're investing more in people who can help you, I could see the North Node in the sixth as like, yeah, I see the benefit in hiring a trainer or hiring an assistant or paying somebody to come in and organize something for me or clean something up, because the sixth house does deal with help. So if you need some kind of assistance, or maybe you're finally looking for an accountant or somebody to kind of help you, get your taxes in order for next year, it might be worth kind of springing for this stuff to kind of help you get things done in a more practical kind of manner. I think about how Mars is going to hit that North Node, and you're definitely going to feel that the second half of the month, where you're going to be like, okay, I'm really ready to invest in my health and my productivity. So when that arrives, listen to it, especially because you, my Scorpios, you and Taurus, you guys are the ones that are having eclipses in your 6th and your 12th houses. So you guys are the ones who are more prone to having health issues. So I would really say focus on what you can cut back on, maybe with Mars in the second house, what you do or do not need to be buying or consuming. And then the trines to the North Node are things that are helping you feel like you can be more productive, and also probably a little bit more athletic with that 6th house. Productivity, anything that's going to save you time or make you healthier in the long run, that's what you want to be investing in. Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You are going to be experiencing the sun in your sign in your first house of self, coming into a trine with the North Node in Aries in the 5th. Sag, I really love this for you. I feel like the trines with, the sun in the first house, but Mars in the first house is a very active, can-do attitude. It's very self-focused. It's all about going after what's going to make you feel the happiest, the most loved, the most creative. It's about self-expression with the North Node in the 5th house. So it's possible that you're getting very excited, or you're very passionate, or you're very intense about your 5th house things. It could be your children, it could be your love life, it could be your own business, it could be about performances, it could be about creative projects, or being self-employed. I think of like the sun being the connector to your 9th house, and it tells me that you're like, I really just want adventure, I want travel, I want culture, and I want to have fun. And I do feel like the more that you're taking action, being like, it's okay for me to make time for these things, and it might be things that you're doing on your own, because Aries can be on your own, the better you're going to be feeling. I think about Saturn being at the bottom of your chart, and you might feel like you're kind of just like thrown the anchor over and you're at home all the time and you're stuck there. This trine to the 5th house is trying to get you to go and do something that's fun, adventurous, or athletic, that's going to give you time away from home so you don't feel that heaviness. But also it's great for creative endeavors, hobbies, ways of self-expression, things that you create. And you know, Mars is the ruler. Mars is in your sign. So really it's saying you make your own luck, right? The chances you take may actually dramatically pay off right now. If you're deciding that you want to go out on a whim and go and do something and have fun, with Aries in the 5th house, likely it's going to be sporting events or something that's going to allow you to go and do something active that's going to be independent on your own. So think of like sports and other hobbies that you can be doing by yourself. That's going to help you burn off some excess steam, but also find ways to better kind of express yourself and give yourself some time to have fun, because that's really what it's kind of looking like is important to you. That might mean that you have to learn something new though, because the sun rules the 9th house. So whether you have to travel to have this fun or you have to take a course to learn how to do something, it does look like it's worth doing. And some of your passion and your motivation right now is setting the stage for ultimately what you're going to be really working on creating and kind of reconnecting to yourself in the spring of 2024. For some of you guys, like I said, it could be your own business. It could be a new romantic relationship. For others, it also could potentially be about children with eclipses in your 5th house. Okay. Good luck, Sag. We got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You will be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius in your 12th house. It'll be making trines to the North Node in Aries in your 4th house. All right, so you, like the other earth signs, are doing these trines in what are considered to be water houses. So there's a lot of action. There's a lot of changes that are going on that does produce some kind of emotional shift. Now, the sun in the 12th house does tell me that it's about this time period where you're focusing on what you're releasing, what you're letting go. It is about the subconscious and behind the scenes and things that are kind of hidden or private. And how they're influencing your home, your emotions, and also your family. Now, my Capricorns, it's almost your birthday, okay? To me, it seems like with a Mercury retrograde in your 1st house, and this trine from the 12th to the 4th is a lot of like, what am I letting go? Where can I take time maybe to rest and recuperate and heal? You might literally find that you're wanting to spend more time at home or kind of resting or in bed, because the 12th house is the bedroom. You might find that there is a lot of emotional things that you're working through in private in regards to your home life or your family. When we see the sun, which is the ruler of the 8th house, trine the North Node, it makes me feel like there is this sense of going, okay, there is a huge shift. I'm releasing and letting something go. Maybe it's everything that's happened in the last year. Maybe it's like old storylines relating to change and transformation and like where you've been afraid to make a shift. And finally, I think letting this go is going to open the door to like new opportunities for home and family, especially going into the spring next year. I do feel like it can be a bit bittersweet. You know, you've got Jupiter in your 5th house and Uranus there as well. So there's lots of opportunity for fun, creativity, romance, and expansion of the heart. And so while these good things are coming, it almost seems like there has to be a sense of releasing and making space for something new. So I'm wondering, is that something new revolving around just the way that you look at change? Is that something new having to do with your home base? Are you, moving into a bigger home? Are you saying goodbye to an apartment? Are you moving back with family? Something is shifting there, and it's all about the way that you look at change. Over the next couple of months, you're going to see as we come back into eclipse season in the spring, everything's bringing you back to your home, your family, and your private life. There's so many changes happening in your professional life out in the world that I think that there is like a new version of you that's getting ready to emerge, and you're probably going to see that right around the time Pluto is going into your 2nd house and we're done with all this Mercury retrograde stuff in your sign. So for right now, pause, reflect, ask yourself, what are you ready to let go of? How do you look at change, and how can making these changes make you a little bit more independent when it comes to your home life or your family, and also give you the opportunity to focus on the things that are kind of outside of the limelight. Good luck. We have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You will be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius, trine the North Node in Aries in the 3rd house. All right, so you are going to be experiencing the sun hanging out in your area of your chart that deals with friends, goals, networks, and yeah, your dreams, right? Mars is there, very active time for collaborating, socializing, and being with groups of people. Mars and the sun is kind of talking about the fact that there's a lot of relating to others, coming together with others, talking to groups of people. Now, the trine to the North Node in the third house is about these things. It might be people that are traveling and coming to see you. It might be about friends coming to visit. It may be about having to have lots of meetings, phone calls and emails that you're initiating, or you're communicating and talking to groups of people. It really depends. But I do feel like this is about the relationship that you have with others, and it can give you the opportunity to either hash out or find ways to kind of unite. And take action in regards to your goals and making them a reality. But it might mean that you have to write something, learn something, launch a website. You might have to have more of an online presence. There may be contracts and negotiations that are coming up because there is a sense of trying to wrangle a group of people and trying to get them to all kind of hear your voice and hear what you have to say. For you, it's a little bit more easy to deal with because, you know, you are going to have some sextiles and some trines that are kind of playing nicely. You know, air does work a little bit easier for, fire is a little bit easier to manage for the air signs. So like you, Libra and Gemini are going to manage this a little bit better. But I feel like nevertheless, this is about conversations that you're having with groups of people and being able to feel like you're able to speak your mind and you're being heard. So conversations are going to be really important. Things that you're signing or talking about or launching should definitely be taken seriously. And I feel like it can be about talking about or discussing, you know, what you want to be traveling to visit, or who you want to be seeing, or what you're going to be writing or learning in the spring. And you may be able to do that with other friends. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You will be experiencing the sun in Sagittarius in your 10th house of career, trining the North Node in Aries in your 2nd house. All right, so for you, Pisces, this is a very big energy. You have got so much action in your professional and your reputation zone. The sun being there, Mars being there, Mercury will retrograde there. There is a sense of really getting a handle on who you are out in the world, what you want to be doing, what you have to say, and how you could make your career go big. Now, the sun will be forming a trine to the North Node in the 2nd house. So this is taking into consideration your work and your daily routine, Lord, working in harmony with the North Node in the 2nd. This tells me that you are showing up, doing the work, or going back to work, or making some career changes that's going to help you feel like you're more prosperous. So I do see lots of career and financial growth for you. I do feel like the trine from the sun in the 10th house of career to the North Node in Aries is all about showing up, doing the work, and becoming more financially independent, feeling more self-sufficient. But I also feel like a lot of this is about talent. This is about your self-esteem feeling like it's coming online. You're believing in yourself and you're like, yeah, I can do it. So this is the month where I think with the trine, the new moon, and the rearrangement of the Mercury retrograde, you're kind of starting to feel like, you know, you can definitely make it in these shifts that are either going on in your career or with your public status. Obviously, for some of you guys, a Mercury retrograde can mean switching jobs or having a change with a relationship. Something is shifting that's very public, and it's putting you in a position of feeling like you have to really invest in yourself right now. It is possible with the sun trine the North Node and that new moon that some of the goals that you're setting for your professional life is leading to increased self-esteem, being more independent financially, making more money, and being more self-sufficient, especially in the spring of 2024. I think about also how, you know, Mercury will retrograde in conjunct Mars. And for a lot of you guys, it's going to be about shifting the way that you look at what your career is or what it could be. It's probably about not going, I am what I do for a living. It's reworking that philosophy about your professional life and going like, wait a second, there's room for me to be multiple things. I don't have to label myself one particular thing. I can do this and I can do that, or I can change my mind. I can go back to an old job. I can, come out of retirement. I can go into retirement. And all of this is really going to depend on that North Node in the second house and how secure or stable you feel with some of these decisions. Okay, so really work with this energy. I feel like usually the action in the 10th house, showing up and doing the work, and the trines to the second manifests as financial abundance. Good luck. I hope that was helpful for you guys in giving you some optimism and some insight to the transits for the week ahead. Let me know. As always, I always appreciate your likes, your comments, and your shares, especially if this is your first time watching my channel. Make sure you're subscribed, click the bell button below, and please do leave me a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear from you. I will be back here on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm putting together some other videos for you guys, so look forward to that. And in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoy that new moon and you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll catch up with all of you very soon. Take care.